Agud Voch Raboisai. Really nishmas mi Rosner Mordechai. Shalom Aleichem to all the many guests. Wow, I just noticed. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Yomen Schoenberg from? Really? Schoenberg's son, Shalom Aleichem. Wow. So you're the one behind the whole. It's really you, and your father puts his name on it. We love your father. He's been with us literally since day one, maybe day two. It's unbelievable. Big zchus. Nice meeting you. What's your name? From Yehuda Katz. Lakewood. Meyer from? Lakewood. Together? No shaykhs. Okay, who's next to you? Manchester. You, I know, you're here. You've been here already, yeah. Who else do we have here? I don't know if you're too shy. Shalom, what's your name? Daniel from Borough Park. Batayin. Where's the Batayin lady? Bring that Batayin lady out. We have more Batayin? Shalom, what's your Volby? Goldman from? Cedarhurst. Yeah. And you, Mr. 8-minute Daf guy? From London. Waldman from London. The ganze Mishpacha. Who else? He's old. I know you, no? Okay. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Yeah. Alon. Yeah. And you are new also. No, a little bit. Your brother-in-law. Okay, doesn't count. Yeah, what's your brother-in-law's name? From St. Louis. What's your last name? Shulman. The ganze Welt. Unbelievable. And there are a few people from Ramat Bet Shemesh. Welcome to the Hu Okas. Shkoch for the gift. Wow, zchus. Unbelievable. You gave me this beautiful matchback. I should have brought it. Okay, next day. You coming tomorrow? I'll try to remember. Beautiful. Very thoughtful. Raboisai, we have one of the easiest dapim in Shas. So it's also very short. So I'm just going to do a bunch of emails instead. Howard Kovacs, he says, to answer your question about the brooms, fortunately we were taught from a young age to give tzedakah. Basically what he's saying is, and I think this is what he said last time, how can they sell brooms all over South Africa? You think that nobody has a broom. The answer is because they really want money, but it's illegal to ask for money. So they sell anything. They'll sell matchboxes. So they sell brooms. It's a teretz. But they're really, and if you don't buy from them, they say, but could you give me money anyway? That's the pshat. And whips, he says. Dear Rebelli, I started doing the Daf Kesubos. I have to say it changed my life. Knowing that every day I'm learning and committed to the greatest thing in the world, being part of something so great and seeing every day another person joins the new ayah. It's incredible. I'm so happy to be part of the family. Thank you for all that you're doing for Klal and bringing us close to Hashem. Chaim Brenner, new guy. Okay? Oh, this, I'm a little jealous. This is a picture of, this is what it looks like. So you go on one of these Jeeps, usually a Land Rover, sometimes usually a Land Cruiser, I should say, a Toyota, sometimes it's a Land Rover. Over here, it seems like, if you have two people, that means that there's one spotter. He sits, you see over there's like a little table, so that comes off the front. So usually what they do is it's a 3-hour drive. So they'll stop in the middle of it. They say it's a safe place. And they say, go to the bathroom on your own risk. There might be a lion hiding behind the bush. And they give you a shtickle Chaim. And if you're eating kosher, they give you the kosher food. Over here, it seems like there's two people because there's a guy sitting like right where that table is. That's where the guy sits. And he looks for like the track marks and the different things. And another set of eyes. So here they are, Raboisai, put on some volume. This is not for my trip. Somebody else sent it. I'll read it from Yoeli Friedman.
Good morning, Raboisai.
Okay. I'm sorry, that's how it's supposed to be. So it's fine, enjoying your daily share. I'm hooked for many mesechtas already, Baruch Hashem. And looking forward to making my first Sima Shas together. Oh, man. While you were in South Africa, I was hoping to meet. But I couldn't return trip, I guess into that. Kids, so you wanted to meet in South Africa. When I was on my game drive, I jumped off the truck and surrounded by Hashem's natural world. I had to do this good morning, everybody. My driver was amazed and I asked him to copy, see attached video, another African style good morning. Days after we left that part of Africa, he sent me this message. Just LOL, good morning, Graboisai. Have a good Shabbos, a Talmud, Yoeli Freeman. Okay. And here's Barry Weber, who's saying at the Siyum in Bellworks, but here he is at a regular chasana, not a regular, a beautiful chasana. Here's this guy at the casino with the merch. Nachamal, let's look at the left. Sure. You see this coffin? My name is Shalom Sokol, and I was very inspired. I saw this guy on my flight from Chicago to New York. Just wanted to share this photo so you can keep inspiring more people. Yeshkoyach. I never see these people. It's always other people seeing these people on flights. The Koiler Rabbi Isai is sponsor for all the new people that joined the share. The second sponsor of the Koiler is sitting right next to me by Avi Rachel Kamyansky, memory of Rachel's mother, Reza Gittel Bases. The reader should be Melitzi Yishara on behalf of us. Is that how you say Melitzi Yishara? No, that's how I say it. The Masechta, sponsor number 1, is by Mo Landy. Lili Nishmas, he says, Borach ben Moshe Aaron and Nishmas Moshe Loza ben Nota Shalom, and for the hatzlacha b'chol for my children. The second sponsor for the Masechta is Rosner. It's because of my son, Yosef Chaim ben Sara Klein Refuah Shlaima. The Parnas HaChodesh by the Lock and Lebovic family is Lakewood NJ because Torah is the best segula. Parnas HaChodesh number 2, Zechariah ben Moshe. Lili Nishma Zechariah ben Moshe. Parnas HaChodesh number 3, Benjy Estie Israel, in memory of our Zayde Moshe Menora and 3 cousins, Sara Klein, Ricki Racheli Menora, on the 12th Yosef, the Neshama should all have an aliyah. Parnas HaChodesh number 4, like Avrum Epstein, sitting to my left, in memory of my precious Southern Belle, sitting right across from you, Rabbi Schoenberg. Wife, mother, and grandmother, Rita Gay Epstein. Parnas HaChodesh number 5, Michael Bemela, also Motty Perl, and also Aaron Hirsch, to be Zoicha. Everybody could ask for whatever they want. Just because I say it doesn't mean anything. To be Zoicha, to make it to Uman Rosh this year. Eli Nishmas, my cousin, Miriam Rochel, Basra, Daniel, Shlomo, Miri Farkovich, may today's learning be a zchus for Neshama as a source of comfort to the family. Till Avram Meir, Yisrael Dov, and Oshezelik Farkovich. Mordechai Sepazin, Zech Nishmas, my great grandfather. By the way, these two people, Avram Farkovich and Mordechai Sepazin, there's some sort of race going on here. They have the most sponsorships. For sure, right? Yosef, anybody sponsor more than Mordechai Sepaznik?
I don't know. He's official.
And no, I don't think so. And the mayor, the Farkovitz, they sponsored like in advance, like 30 of them, years in advance. Rabbi Mishaya ben Rabbi Chil, Michael Sepaznik, Mezin Neshama, have an aliyah in honor of Yudi Katz who traveled from Lakewood to attend today's share. That's you. In honor of you, somebody put it in. Wow, Yishkoich Rabbi Yudi. Wow. We made some money off you today. Wow, unbelievable. Shmak. Okay. So Rabbi Isai, I just, since it's a very easy sugi, I'm just going to say it balpeh a little bit, give a little bit of a overview of what's going on here. So in chart number 1, actually it says chart number 13. Just ignore that. It's chart number 1. There's an amazing thing going on here in the sugya. And that is when you have a woman who's mizana when she was a nara, but until you were able to punish her, until the hamada badin, she already became a begeres. What misa do you give her? If she's a nara, you give her skila. And if she's a begeres, the pasuk says naira, psula, arusa. So if she's not a naira, she's not in the parsha. So what happened was, again, she was mizana when the Torah says that she gets skila. But until you were able to bring it to Bezdin, let's say it was the day before her birthday, or Bezdin was at a service, whatever it was, you waited a little bit, all of a sudden now she's a begeres. Do you give her a misa? What do you guys think? You'd probably say it goes by when she was mizana. No. Sheila says, and this is the big chiddush of the sugi, and that's the whole Amud Aleph over here. It's very short, very easy. The chiddush is that you give her chenek, because today she's a begeres. Okay. Now I do want to point out, it's hard for me to get to it, so maybe I'll show it to you here. Right here. There's 2 parashas in the Torah. The one is called Nair Marasa, one is called Moisi Shemra. What is the difference between them? There's almost no difference. Moisi Shemra is what we discussed all along, and that is that a husband comes and he claims that his wife was mizana. When she was in Arusa, when they were engaged, during that year period or whatever, how long their engagement was, not an engagement, a Gemara Dika engagement. She's mizana. Special halacha that unlike a regular Ishes Ish who gets chenek, this woman gets skila. There's also something called a nairu murasa. The husband had nothing to do with this. He's not involved. He didn't say anything. If you look, they're almost identical. She has to be a psula, she has to be murasa, and she gets skila. The one nafkamina that I was able to find, I don't know if you could find other things, according to Rava, and it's interesting because Rava is the main part of the sugya, and the Rambam paskins like Rava, although it doesn't even seem like it from, the Gemara brings Rabbi Yochanan at the end, but the Rambam paskins like Rava, that there is an nafkamina whether she got married and whether she's a begeres, according to if she's a moitzi shemra, she's a moitzi shemra, the husband comes forward with the claim. It's not just a claim; he brings Zaydim. The other one also there's Zaydim. But if the husband is a vow, she's the moitzi shemra. It doesn't matter if she's married or if she became a begeres, according to Rav. Fine, that's one nafkamina. Not to get too confused here, we're going to jump a little bit back and forth between these two things. It doesn't make a big difference. And we'll see in a second. Okay, so going back to this chart over here. This is the sugya. She was mizana when she was a naira, like the Torah says, and then she became a begeres, chenek. Now we have a problem because there's a brisa that says this exact halacha about a moitzi shemra, and it says you get skila. If she did it when she's a naira, she's now a begeres, get skila. Nothing changes. So it's l'chayra a contradiction. Sheila says you get chenek. If something changes in her status, she went from a naira to begeres, you also change the misa. Instead of skila, you get chenek. And over here we have a brisa, moitzi shemra, you get skila, it remains. Naira gets skila, begeres gets skila, it's the same. It's contradiction. Gemara is going to say, he says Rava, and this is how we paskin, but for now Rava says, no, well you bring me a raya from moitzi shemra. I just showed you, one is blue, one is red. They're different. Moitzi shemra is a big chiddush. It's a chiddush. So therefore, it doesn't change. Yeah, she just, her status changed. She went from a naira to begeres. Her misa doesn't change. And I'll bring you a raya, he says. We're just going over this. We're going to do chazar inside. It's going to be beautiful. The raya is, because typically, if a woman is mizana right after a chuppah, even no bia, just chuppah, she gets chenek. She's a ishasish. But if it's a moitzi shemra, she gets skila. Oh, you see, it's a big chiddush. The whole concept of Moitzi Shemer is a chiddush. So if there's a chiddush, it's different than what Sheila brought down. She was talking about a case of Nair Murasa. The husband wasn't involved. It was Eidim. Over here, don't bring any rights from Moitzi Shemer. Don't ask me contradictions. Okay. So Rav Huna says, no. You're telling me, you bring me a raya from what? I'm just saying this about Peh so that it's easier when we learn inside. You bring me a raya from chuppah. A woman gets married and she has chuppah, not even bia. Typically speaking, she's a shasish, she gets chenek. But if there's a moitzi shemra, the husband came up with it, then this skila. Says Rav Huna, no. When do we say that there's a chiddush? Is when there's no change in her body. There's a change in her status, not in her body. In other words, she went from an arusa to nesua. Did anything change in this woman? No. All women go from arusa to nesua. Nothing changed in them. We're talking about a different case. We're talking about when she went from a naira to begeres, where there's a change in her body. Don't bring me any raya, says Rav Huna, from chuppah. Fine. Now let's see the sugya inside. I told you it's a very simple sugya. Don't worry about it. Says the Gemara. Tani Shilo. The bottom of Memdal Amud Beis. Shalosh midos benara. There are 3 halachas by naira. Shalom aleichem. Have a seat. Where are you from? Another London guy. Shalom aleichem. What's your name? Berlin? Shimi Berlin. Shalom aleichem. Okay, there's a few guys from Manchester, from London here. That guy's from London. It's Manchester. Okay. You know them all. You did a family trip. What's going on here? Whatever. There was EasyJet had a special this week. Okay.
We all know each other.
Givaldic. Who are you? He's a guest from Ramat Shemesh. There's a few guys here still from Ramat Shemesh. Tani Shili came perfect. We're starting a brand new sugya, Givaldic sugya. 2 lines from the bottom of Memdal Amud Beis. Tani Shila. Shalosh midos benara. There are 3 halachas when it comes to naira murasa. Now, what I'm saying is not exact. I don't want to confuse anybody. Let's just say it's talking about naira murasa, the blue on this side, on the right. In other words, she was mizana by the erusin. She got engaged and she was mizana. Bo'la edim bebeis chamiyah shezinsa bebeis aviyah. Come Eidim and say that she was mizana. What does bebeis chamia mean? In her father-in-law's house. In other words, in those days, you're not supposed to live in your in-laws' house. Like we learned a few times, mother-in-laws are dangerous with their son-in-laws. No, for real. So you live in your own father's house. He gave you a little room. She moved in with her husband. And that's what it means. She's already after marriage. And if we found out that she's mizana, shezinsa bebeis avia, top of memhei Amud Aleph, soikin loisa pesach beis avia. Now, the Yisod is very simple. This is no big chiddush yet. We're going to get to the big bomb. That's the third chiddush. This is, where do you stone her to death? You bring her back. She left. She's already in London. Now he said, no. You're mizana. We have to bring you to your father's house to show where this whole kilkul happened. When you're mizana, when you're engaged, you're at your father's house, come back. Okay, she comes back. Now, to confuse everybody a little bit, there's a big giant taisus here. I did the reading for you. There's two pshatim here. But one of the pshatim taisus is that this last line on Mem Daled Amud Beis is actually talking about the case of Motzi Shemra. Okay? If you want to see Taisvis, it's over here. It says Ulefi Zeh, like 15 lines down, that's one pshat. And another pshat is Rabbeinu Shmuel Mefarish, that's where it gets wide. Another like 9 lines down. He goes through the two pshatim. Basically, Taisvis is saying that if this is Rava, in Sheila, you have to say, says Taisus, we're talking about a Motzi Shemra. So we're going from blue to red, and now we're going back to the blue. So it's a little hard to understand. Like we're saying 3 halachas in Naira Morasa. No. One of them is actually about a Motzi Shemra. Okay, throw a little curveball here. Fine. But we can ignore that for now. Halacha number 1 is that if she was mizana, and she's already moved into her husband's house, you have to bring her and kill her in front of her father's house. So everybody knows that what? The Gemara even says a time of the cross, sort of. Let me explain to you the pshat in the pasuk. Kaloimar, ru'u gidulim shegidaltem. I had a hard time with this. You know what? So every kid that goes off the derech is the parents' fault. Azoy shteit in the Gemara. Kaloimar, ru'u gidulim shegidaltem. It's your fault. I always take comfort, I shouldn't say for myself, but for everybody. Avrum Avinu had a kid that went off the derech in Shmuel. Yitzchak had Esav. The best mechanchim in the world that we know of had kids that went off the derech. Okay, fine. Rebbe Lofsky says, Dafka, he says that if there's a mageifa in the world, a certain city, everybody's dying out, kids are dying out, and somebody, Baruch Hashem, was saved, and his kids didn't die. So you're going to say, the reason why they didn't die is because the great mechanchim. And the other one has nothing to do. They're dying because of a disease. He says, our generation is a mageifa. That's what he says. Mamash mageifa. So it has nothing to do with the kid, with the parents, not the parents, fine. I'll go upon him. Everybody can learn it any way they want. But in those days, they took the kid that went off the derech and brought him in front of the father's house and said, look what you produced. It's your fault. Shalom Yisrael. Take responsibility. Next case. Again, these are not chidushim. Why? Because this is mefurish in the pasuk. It says a pesach beis avia in the pasuk. Sheila is not being mechadish anything. Next, if she never left her father's house, so where would you think that you kill her? You don't have to do it now in front of her father's house. You know why? The whole world knows where the father lives. They know where the daughter is. They see her coming in and out of the house. There's no need to bring her in front of the father's house. Now, you make even a bigger matzav. You bring her to the city, to the Shara. You know where the water fountain is. When you come in, it says, welcome to, and the whole thing, that sign, that's where you do it. Okay. And now, Rabbi Isai, here comes the big bomb, the chiddush of tonight. Sarcha ulabasoiv bagra. If she was mizana and then she became a begeres, in other words, she went from being a naira, and there's a 6-month period from the time she becomes a naira 12 and simanim until she leaves that period and she becomes a begeres. Tidaim bechenek. Unbelievable chiddush. And, like I said, the Rambam paskins that this is it. Tidaim bechenek. You go chenek. Now, these words, tidaim bechenek, I want you to remember these words because Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't say tidaim bechenek. That avoids all questions. What it says here, according to Rabbi Yochanan, is tidaim beskila. In other words, there's no chiddush in Sheila. This big chiddush that we're talking about says, you missed, you read the brisa wrong. Okay, fine. Just remember that it's in these words over here, 4 lines down. Okay, but we're not in Rabbi Yochanan yet, and we have a major chiddush. Sara Klein, she was mizana when she's a naira murasa, when she's a naira. And a naira, and we're talking about, this is a case that she's not a moitzi shemra. We're still in chart 5 over here. She's a naira murasa, in the blue. You see, Gary, in the blue. Not the husband has nothing to do with this. She is a naira murasa. Adam came forward and said, this kalo is mizana. By the time they came forward and everything, she's already begeres. So the halacha is, instead of her getting skila, which she's supposed to be getting, today she's a begeres. A begeres doesn't get skila. We give her the punishment of what it is today, which is chenek, unbelievable chiddush. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, is this chiddush true? You're telling me anytime the body changes and there's a new misa to that body, whatever the case is, so today also, even though she sinned when she deserved skila, today she's a chenek woman, she gets chenek. Vermini, I'm going to ask you a question, because this halacha again was on the blue, on a regular naira mirasa, no husband involved. I'm going to ask you a question from the red, from a moitzi shemra. It's almost the same case. The only difference is that the husband is the one that came forward, and he's bringing the claim against his wife. It says, naira moirasa shezinsa umishibagra, and she then became a begeres. She's 12 and a half already. Hoitiyala shemra. That's when the husband came forward. What's the halacha? We're looking for a halacha that's going to tell us that she gets skila and not chenek. We're saying the whole time now it just changed from skila to chenek. Here's a case where the misa remains the same. She was chayta, she was mizana when she's a naira, she gets skila. He came forward and she's a begeres, and she remains and she gets skila. What is that called? A contradiction. Okay. First we have to go through the wording here, and we're going to get to the kash in a second. First of all, hu ein eloika. Typically speaking, if he's lying, he gets malchus, and what else? He has to pay 100, 2-year salary. Nothing. He is potter. She and the Edim that were found to be liars, immediately take them out and kill them in Beis Haskila. Not in front of the house, not in front of the Sharir, a new place called Beis Haskila. Special place, there's a little bit of elevation, put her on there, throw her off. But it says skila. But before, okay, so if we stop here, we have a contradiction. Here it says, she started out when she was a naira, and a naira gets skila, like the pasuk says. Psula, naira, psula, meirasa, skila. And then the husband came forward when she's a begeres, a change in the body. Nothing happened. You remain a skila. Great. What? I don't know. It says he came forward when she was a begeres.
Otherwise, how do we have Chanas Pasulim?
How do you know there's psulim? How do you know that there was anything? I don't know the exact time. We're going to see tomorrow. Exactly. Even today, we're going to see. Does it have to be bia? What kind of time? Maybe he found out. He has Adam. He's coming forward with Adam. They saw being mizana. Says the Gemara. First of all, let's understand simple pshat. We'll get to the kash in a second. How is it possible? You found that the Adam are false. If they're false, she doesn't die. If she dies, they're not false. You can't kill the Adam and her. It's impossible. Either you kill the Adam because they're liars, or you kill her because they're not lying. But you can't kill all three of them. You're right. Either you killed the Adam because they were found guilty, they were on a safari trip somewhere, they weren't there, or she was mizana Beis Skila. Bottom line, we have a contradiction. Is it skila or chenek? Which one? Omarava, I'll tell you a very simple pshat. Moitzi Shemra Kamris. You ask me a kasha for Moitzi Shemra on a naira morasa? They're very different. Shani Moitzi Shemra, the chidushu. That's a chidush. On a regular case of a Ashes Ish who had nisuin, she had a chuppah, during her chasana, There was nothing going on yet. Vizinson, she was mizana during the chazan before she was with her husband at all. The halacha is b'chenek. Vilu moitzi shemra b'skila. So you see, moitzi shemra is different than a naira murasa. Moitzi shemra, if the husband comes during the chazan and says that she was mizana, then she gets skila. So you see, it's a chiddush. And when it comes to chidushim, don't bring me any rayas from red to blue, from blue to red. Moitzi shemra is a chiddush. You can't bring a raya to anything else in the world. Says Rav Huna, wait a minute. You're right, it's a chiddush. But when is it a chiddush? From Erusin to Nesuin. Nothing happened to her guf. Nothing changed. Perhaps when it goes from a naira to begeres. Here, let's see. Here, I just have the psukim if you want to see the psukim. We're going to need these psukim later on. Here, like he was saying, I didn't find psulim. We're going to see machlokes in this pasuk. Is it literal that he literally didn't find psulim, or it's a way to speak, but it's not literal? Fine. Now, this is also the psukim of Nair Murasa. This is not a Haitzi Shemra. This is Moitzi Shemra. V'Haitzi Aleh Shemra. The husband comes forward. Here's almost the same parasha, but different. Here, Naira Psula Moirasa. You have the three conditions that a Moitzi Shemra has. She's a Naira, she's not a Begeres. She's a Psula, not a Beula. She's a Moirasa, not married. And that's it. You take them out to the gate of the city. But it doesn't say the husband is involved there. This is a Naira Murasa. Okay. So, this is the case where if she was Mizana, as a Naira, she gets what? Under the Naira it says Skila. If she's a Boigeres, she gets Chenek. So comes Sheila and says, this is this big Chiddush, that if she's Mizana when she was a Naira, instead of getting Skila, she gets Chenek because Chenek is for Boigeres. Now, Rava proves from Eishasish that what? If she's Mizana when she's Arusa, she gets Skila. If she's Mizana when she's in a Suah right after Chuppah, she gets Chenek. That's a regular Eishasish. But by when it comes to Moitzi Shemra, you see what changed over there? Skila. Under Nesua, she gets Skila. Instead of, if she's in a Suah, she gets Chenek if she's Eishasish. If the husband comes forward, it changes to Skila. Says Rava, it's a Chiddush. From Chidushim, we don't learn anything. Yeah, that's Eishasish. Yeah. He's being Moitzi Shemra. Yeah. All Moitzi Shemra, okay. Thanks for clarifying. All Moitzi Shemra is, he's saying that before, during the Erusin, that's what it says in the pasuk. Naira, Psula, Murasa. It's not Nesua. Murasa, it has to be during Erusin only. He is married today to her, and he's claiming that she's Mizana when they were engaged. Says, this is where we're holding right now. Says Ravuna, but the bottom line is that we're talking about a case of Nishtana Gufa. She went from a Nara to Begeres. Something changed in her body. And Memela, if something changed in her body, the halacha should change. She should get Chenek. But what's the problem? That she doesn't get Chenek. It says in the Bryce that she gets Skila. And that's a contradiction, says Ravuna. You, Rava, didn't answer anything. Rava was trying to say that there's an afkamina and he brought a raya from chuppah. That's nothing changes. But if something changed, like Sheila's case, where she went from a nair to begeres, you don't have a raya, Rava. Maybe the misa does change. Maybe it goes from skila to chenek. And the problem is that we have a mefurish brayso that says that it stays at skila. Okay, so we still have a contradiction according to Ravuna. There's no, but you have to do that feroz. You hear what I'm saying? You have to. It's not a question. Maybe there's a difference between shini aguf and not shini aguf, and therefore what? And therefore we go back to the contradiction that we had before between the Bryce and Sheila. Sheila says that this is what happens instead of getting skili get chenek, but we have a Bryce that says that by Moitzi Shemra it goes to skila. And Rava wanted to be mechalik between a Moisi Shemra and a Nairim Rasa. And Ravuna says, no, you can't be mechalik. And therefore, we have a stira. Back to the stira. Elo, Omer Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. So he comes up with different teretz. Instead of saying Rava's teretz is that there's a difference between Nairim Rasa and a Moisi Shemra, that's the difference between the two brises, so it's not a contradiction. Says Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak a simpler answer. It's a machlokes tanoim. There's nothing I can do. I don't like your teretz, Rava, and therefore I have a contradiction in brises. One brise is one tana, the other brise is another tana. Oh, this is very gishmak. Where else do we have in the Torah that a body changes? A guy does an aver. Think about it. So a person, if he's a katan and becomes a gadol, potter, right? So where else in the Torah? Think about it. Anybody can call it. If you think about it, it's 1,000 points. Where else in the Torah does a person do an avera in one matzav and then something happens to him, he changes matzav? Nowhere. What? Who said that? Why? That nothing changed. Changed in his body? Nothing changed in his body. But you're right. But you cheated. Okay, fine. You looked inside. It's okay to cheat. Say it. When it comes to Torah, say it. Fine. Huh? Nothing. He has to, if he cheated, he has to give them back. If he didn't cheat, he can use them. What? Something changed. So what does that have to do with the Avera? Nothing changed for the Avera. They did Avera, and then what happened? Okay, so that's what the Gemara is going to ask. It's not. No, he's a katan. But does the einish change? Where you do an Avera when you're 45 years old, you get this einish, and 2 days later, if you did the same Avera, you get a different einish. What happened? He's not Jewish. He's like, no, he's chayiv as any other. Fine. So let's look inside. This nan. I don't know if I have a thing for this. Fine. Here. If a person does an avera, the chayiv kares, he did it by mistake, you have to bring a chatos. What kind of chatos? So if he's a regular Yisrael or a kohen hadiyot, he has to bring a kizba or a sira. But if he changed into a kohen gadol or became a king, then it's two different karbanos, a par and a sar, or a sar. So the carbon changes. So we have the same exact question that we had by a naira and a begeres. Here's a kohen who, by mistake, turned on the lights on Shabbos, whatever he did. A real chil Shabbos. He turned on the oven, he made food on Shabbos. He thought it's Tuesday, it's Shabbos. And then he was going to bring a carbon, a chatas, he's going to bring a kisba or a seira, a female. And they call him up. They say, hey, we need you. You have to be a kohen gadol. Shalom aleichem. He becomes a kohen gadol. And I said, what should I bring? Should I bring a kisba or should I bring a par? Because if I was a kohen gadol, I was a chal Shabbos, I have to bring a par. What do I do? Or sar, melech, or kohen gadol. So we have a machlokes l'chayra. It's not even similar, but the Gemara seems to think it's similar. Now what? Hareyen ked yoitos. The what? Nothing changes. If you were chayta, you did it, you mechal Shabbos when you're a hedyot, you're not a kohen gadol yet, and then you become a kohen gadol, bring the carbon of the hedyot. You're not a kohen gadol, you did the avera. The avera happened 2 weeks ago, and you were a regular kohen, bring that carbon. That's shita number one. Rav Shimon Omer, but it's very interesting. The Rashi, if you look at Rashi, even you could, if you want to do it easy, it's the last words on the page, or 4 lines above that. Rashi says a lashon, the ishtani gufa, unbelievable. A kohen gadol, Rashi is learning that his body changed. Otherwise, it's not even a kasha. What's going on here? It's a status. What would you say? A woman goes from being an arusa, engaged, to nesua. Isn't that similar to a kohen becoming a kohen gadol? Nothing changed in his body physically. Yeah, it did. He became a different body. He became a different human being. He became a kohen gadol. That's what Rashi learns. Other Rishonim argue. Fine. Tosfos argues. Says the Gemara, and this is our raya right over here. Well, Tanakam says nothing changed. Once he becomes a kohen gadol and he realized, hey, I was Michal Shabbos. I thought it's Tuesday. I just had the whole cheshbon. I just came off of the boat. Yeah. But he's already kohen gadol. What's the hatzlacha? It's a very, very key word here. P'turim. He doesn't bring any carbon. 0. Now that's a problem. That doesn't fit into our sugya so well because we want to say that you should bring the type of carbon of a kohen gadol, a par and a sar. Reb Shimon doesn't say that. Reb Shimon says he's potter completely. Okay. The Gemara wants to say that this machlokes is very similar to our machlokes. His status changed. Does he bring the carbon that he was supposed to bring today, or does he bring the carbon he's supposed to bring yesterday? Reb Shimon says he doesn't. His status changed. That's what you see from here. Reb Shimon says his status changed. Amud Beis. Sponsored by Moshe Menora in honor of Zach, the Rocklin and Lenny learn CPA. And zchus being able to support them in a Torah to finish learning Shas with the rebellion. Says the Gemara, so the Gemara asked the obvious question. Reb Shimon holds that you need both. You need Yediyah and the Chet. The Chet and his awareness that he was Chayta have to be when he's a Kohen Gadol. Then he brings a par. If you only have one or the other, it's not enough. If he sinned when he was a regular Kohen and he realized that he sinned when he's a Kohen Gadol, then you don't bring anything. I'll prove it to you, says the Gemara. Why isn't the Kohen Gadol, according to Reb Shimon, he should bring a par? He doesn't bring anything. So that's not similar to our sugya. Over here we're saying that she gets a different misa. She has to get killed, but she gets a different one. Her status changed, and she gets a different misa. How come Reb Shimon doesn't say his status changed? He should bring a different type of carbon. No, he brings nothing. Okay, so it's not similar to our sugya. Kiyashta, either a Meshuach par, the Kohen brings a par, Venasi sar, the Melech brings a sar. Okay, the bottom line is now a new pshat. Remember where I told you to stick in this word? Okay, Rabbi Yochanan changes the whole thing. He takes the whole thing off the sugya. There's no chiddush in the sugya. Sheila never said that if the status of the woman changes from a naira to begeres, so does her misa change from skila to chenek? He says no, it remains skila. So if it remains skila, the two brises are saying the same exact thing, and there's no contradiction in the brises. I don't need to answer anything. However, I was surprised to learn that the Rambam doesn't pass like this. The Rambam passes like Rava on Amud Aleph, that Sheila said mefurish. Okay, fine. V'amai naira merasom rachmana v'oy begeresi. Doesn't make sense. Ask the Gemara Rabbi Yochanan. She should get chenek. Right now she's a begeres. Omar Rabbi Lo, Omar Kro, Hanaro. Oh, here, yeah, these psukim, right here. This is what I wanted to show. That says in Pasuk Chav, lanara. So who are we talking about? A naira. So then why does the Pasuk right afterwards say Voitzius hanaira Pesach Pesavia? The whole word is extra. It should say Voitziu oisa Pesach Pesavia, Voitziu Pesach Pesavia. What's hanara? We're talking about a naira. It says right before that. Hanara shoyse kvar. So it's coming to teach us, that whole extra word is coming to teach us that we go backwards. What she was before. The fact that right now she's a begeres doesn't change her misa. Her misa goes based on hanaira, that she did it when she was a naira. You tell me there's a special pasuk, special word, a whole word. In pasuk Chof Aleph, that whole word is extra hanaira. It teaches us that you go back to when she was chayta. She sinned when she was a naira, and today she's a begeres. We give her skila and we don't give her chenek. Okay, so why is the husband absolved of everything? Doesn't make sense. He's the Moisi Shemra. He should pay 100 zuz, and he should get malchus. Love this. Omalei Rachmanan Litzlan, my daita. Oy, Nebuch, you push it, you don't understand anything. And guess what? I'm not going to even help you out. I'm not going to tell you pshat. Why? Says Rashi, because this is something that's dependent on your havana in your heart. If you don't have it, you don't have it. I'm not going to help you. Adarabba, Rachmanan Litzlan, midaita didoch. I don't know, I think everybody says Rachmanan Litzlan, no? Yeah. We should, in the future, Nitzlan, fine, same thing. Maybe. Rachmanan Litzlan, you Rachmanan Litzlan. You tell me Rachmanan Litzlan, you're Rachmanan. Shem should have Rachmanan Litzlan, you. The time am I love this. This is unbelievable. It's a beautiful, beautiful pshat. When you hear it, you're going to understand the whole thing. Om Rabbi Yitzchak bar Oven, v'yisem Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba, zu maaseh gormulo, v'zeh akim asfos of gormuloi. The Gemara says, unbelievable. What happened? When was she mizana? She was mizana when she was a naira. So what einish did she get? Today she's a begeres. Today she's 60 years old. Who cares? When she was mizana, she was 12 years old, and she deserved then skila. Today we're going to give her skila. It doesn't matter that something 2 years passed. She deserves skila because that's what she did. But this guy, what happened? Think about it. He's a liar. Shalom Aleichem. The guy's a liar. He made up a story. What did he say? His wife today is 15 years old. She's a begeres, long gone. He shows up in Bezdin. He wants to get out of his ksuba, whatever his reason is. Comes to Bezdin, he fabricates a story. My wife was mizana when she was a nara. But it's sheker. It never happened. He made up a story. So when was he lying? He was lying when she was a begeres. Today she's a begeres. Today she's 15 years old. He came to Bezdin when she's 15 years old and made up a baba maisa that happened 3 years ago, but it never happened. So when was his sheker? His sheker was today. It has no connection to naros. It's full begeres. You hear? It's very pashut. It's beautiful. If you didn't understand that, Rahman al-Islam, you have to figure it out yourself. No, that's what he said. You have to figure it out. I can't help you. It's such a pashta thing, and that's why he's potter from Malchus and Mea. Because Malchus and Mea is only when it has to do with a naira. The pasuk says naira. And she's not a naira, she's a begeres today. He lied. Okay, we'll deal with him for lying. And then there's a mandama that says he still gets Malchus. Let's say whatever it is. But the parsha of Hoitzah Shemra is not negatim because she's already a begeres today. You see, let's see it inside because it's so beautiful. Zumasa Gormula, she was mizana when she was a naira. Vizea Kima Svasav, he just spoke when? Today when she's a begeres Gormula. Zumasa Gormula, she's, what's the girsa here? Zanoi. Nara Zanoi. Vizea Kima Svasav Gormula. Emas Komachayev Aishata. When is she chayev? When is he trying to be mechayev her today? And today she's already begeres. Okay, Rabbi Isai. I can't use that excuse anymore and tell people that it's the easy. When you hear me say it's the easiest daf and shas, you know I'm lying. But here it's really easy. Torah Rabbana. Naira Morosh Zinsa Soiklin Oisa Al Pesach Beisavia. Okay, seriously, new sugya, very easy. Tomorrow easy. It just gets easy from here. Naira Morosh Zinsa. If she was mizana, we had before. We want to tell the world where this tragedy occurred. It started from the father's house. He doesn't own a home. He's homeless. So you go out to the gate of the city. The Gemara is going to learn from Sukkot. Everybody non-Jewish, 51% non-Jews. So you do it by the Bezdin. I just noticed here that there's a thing here. Fine. And similarly, we have a same halacha by Avodah Zarah. You take him to the house that he worshipped Avodah Zarah. And if there are many going there, 51%, then you do it by Bezdin. How do we know this? The Torah Rabbanon Sha'arecha is the Shar Shavad Boy. Sha'arecha. This is a pasuk by Avodah Zarah. So it says Shar. Maybe it's the gate where the Bezdin is. Nemar Shorecha Lemata. It says by Avodah Zarah Shorecha. Nemar Shorecha Lemala. Let's see if we have the psukim here. Dvarim Perigid Zayin pasuk Beis pasuk Hey. So here's Lemala. Kimotzi begirucha b'chat Shorecha. Yasara. He's doing Avodah Zarah. So that's pasuk Beis. Now pasuk Hey, it says also the same word Shorecha, but over here it's already talking about you take him out and kill him. So but pasuk Beis is talking about that he did the Avera. Where did he do Avera? He went to Bezdin to do Avodah Zarah? No, he did the Avera by his house, by his place. So Ma Shorecha Amor L'Mal Shar Shavad Boy. Pasuk Beis is talking about him doing Avodah Zarah. Obviously he did it in his house. Av Shorecha Amor L'Mato. So too in pasuk Hey over here, when we kill him, Shar Shavad Boy, you kill him by his house. Okay, so it says Shorecha over here and Shorecha over here, two Shorechas. Okay. Dover Acher, another pshat. You take the word sharecha, the same word that we had now, and not if they're goyim there. Says Gemara, you just learned something from sharecha that it's in his house. Says Gemara, you're right. The same word sharecha we learned two things from the first part of the word and the second part of the word. Says Gemara, these psukim base, hey, there's all avodah zara, naira merasa menala, and how we know naira merasa. Or Rebavo. Please remember this Rebavo because we have him tomorrow. Also, he gives these complicated drushes. Usually it says sharecha, great. This is like a 4-step limud, and tomorrow also he does a different limud, 4 steps. Says the Gemara, Omer Rebavo, Gomar Pesach mi Pesach. It says by Nair Merasa Pesach. It also says Pesach by the Mishkan. You see this pasuk? This pasuk Pesach Shara Chotzer Ashar Mishkan. So it says the word Pesach by in our sugi. It says Pesach by Mishkan. But guess what it says right next to Pesach? It also says the word Shar. Oh, so Gomar Pesach mi Pesach. U Pesach mishar. V'shar misharecha. And the Shar, we're going to learn finally to Avodah Zara. So we learn Naira Merasa all the way to Avodah Zara through all these words. You go from Pesach to Pesach, Pesach to Shar, and Shar to Misharecha to Avodah Zara. Torah Rabban. Hamoisi Shemra, like even If he's Moisi Shemra, he says, I'm married now, but my wife was Mizana when she was Arusa, and then we find out that he's a liar. He gets Malchus, 39 Malchus, plus tremendous fine. Again, he didn't do anything. He spoke with his mouth. But Me'asela, Baal Noisan, Loi Baal Enu Noisan. Rabbi is Mechalik, he says, in order, because if we go back to that pasuk, I don't know where it is. Wow, there's a lot of charts here. Here. In the pasuk of Moisi Shemra, again, it says, Moisi Shemra, V'omer Seisha Zis Lokachti, V'ekar Ve'ileh, V'lem it says Lopsulim. So, V'ekar Ve'ileh, L'chayra means that they had relations. And he didn't find Psulim. So then, that's only then you pay the 100. But if they had no relations, you get Malchus, but you don't pay the 100. Says Gemara, so tomorrow we're going to have the Somachlaikis. The bottom line of the Machlaikis is, are these words literal or not? We always pass like him. He says these words are literal. He came to Bez and he says, we had relations. I didn't find that she was a psula. Uporso asimla, the whole pasuk there. He brings the sheet, shows there's no dam on the sheet. Mamish literal. And Rabbanan and Mechulik, and they say, no, it's not literal. They're all like remazim to different things, but it's not literal. It's not literal. So you don't have to ve'ekra physically. It's something else. Why? According to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no... How can you get Malchus? What's going on here? All he did was, he came to Bezin and he lied. So how do you get Malchus? You can get Malchus on talking? It's Lav Shem B'Maisa. Yes, he holds, you're like on Lav Shem B'Maisa. Even on talking. Me'asela, but for the punishment of 100 sela, Baal Noisin le Baal Leinu Noisin. It has to be literally like the pasuk, otherwise not. Why? Because he holds Yaakov. Okay. Ikadamri Kulok Yaakov. Everybody, or you could say that everybody agrees with Yaakov. The pasuk is literal. You have to give 100 if there was relations. Okay. Comes Rabbi Yehuda and says, no matter what, you get Malchus. As the Gemara, so now we have a little bit of a problem because the Brisa says Mufurish that if there's no relation, there's no Malchus. According to Rabbi Yehuda, and we just said that if there's no relation, there is Malchus. So which one is it? Is there Malchus? Does there have to be Bia for Malchus or no? We have two pshatim. There is no Malchus. But there's malchus midirabanan. That's something different. The brisa that says there's no malchus is right. There's no malchus the deraisa. The brisa that says there is malchus. It's only a derabana malchus. Top of Memvav Amud Aleph. Rapapa Omar my ba'aloika diktani hasam mamain. When it says that he gets malchus, he gets malchus. So why does it say he doesn't get malchus? It means he doesn't have to pay money. Malchus doesn't mean literally to get hit. It means to get hit with a fine. Yeah, there's such a lashon in English. I'll hit you up with a fine. What? Okay, so loylaka, that's what it means. V'karila l'mamim malchus. What does Gemara ever use the word malchus to talk about money? I forgot to put the chart here, but everybody remembers it from a few days ago and from Erichin. The Torah says that every single person has a certain amount that they have to pay. If they use the lashon, Erkai, it points at Rabbi Schoenberg. Erkai, he happens to be a young guy, 25 years old, so there's a kach v'kach. It's an X amount of shekel. If he's under 5 years old, X amount. Every person has a certain amount. But if he says chetzi erkai, half a Rabbi Schoenberg, how much is that? Noisin chetzi erkai. He has to pay whatever the Torah says his erech is. If it's 20 shekel, he has to pay 10 because he said I'm going to give half. You give him malchus, and he should pay the whole amount, the whole 20. Ask the Gemara, what did he do wrong? A guy wants to give a donation to the Beis HaMikdash, and he says, I want to give half of so-and-so's erech. For that, you give the guy malchus? He's a good guy, not a bad guy. Oh, loika doesn't mean he get hit. He gets hit with the amount. He has to pay up the amount. You hit him up with the full amount. If he points at someone and he says, I want to give half of his value, so he doesn't give half, he gives the whole thing. You give him a loika, the whole thing. And what's the reason? Very, very simple. Because there's two very similar shoynas. You could say, Gzeira, my time, Gzeira chatzi erkoi, or to erech chetzioi. It's almost the same words. Chetzi erkoi, which means half of his value, and the other word is erech chetzioi. You chop the guy in half. Now, you can't chop a person in half because half a brain, the guy's going to die. Half a heart is going to die. So, in Mela, the erech chetzioi, if he says you chop him in half, havali every shana shamet luyaboy. You can't do that. So Memela, if a person uses the lashon erech chetzioi, he has to pay the whole amount. So too, if he says the word chetzi erkoi, which is very similar to erech chetzioi, he pays the whole amount. But once again, all we're trying to prove from here is that sometimes we use the word malchus as money, and that's why when the Brisa says, the Rebbe says, you don't get malchus means you don't pay the fine. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful day. Shkoyach for coming.